Okay, so Be'ez Hashem, after we learned about the topic of Tzolas Nefashis and the Choiva for Tzolas Nefashis and what is Tzolas Nefashis has to do with us as people that are doctors or anything that has to do with that type of work. So now we want to talk about the patient regarding pikuach nefesh. We know there is a halacha, the pikuach nefesh doichet kol averet shebatorah. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to touch Shabbos, but we're not talking because of Shabbos. We're talking about the concept, the general concept of pikuach nefesh. And we're going to see a lot of sources because in order to understand pikuach nefesh, and this is one of the yeshivas that over the years you have to know it, and we're going to learn a lot of sources of pikuach nefesh doichet kol averet shebatorah. There is different sources, and we're going to ask, why do we need so many sources? And that is going to be the answer that we're going to see Be'ez Hashem today. So the first Gemara that we're going to see today, Be'ez Hashem, is the Gemara in Yuma Daf Pei Beis, where the Gemara talks, the Mishnah talks regarding Yom Kippurim. On Yom Kippur, you have an ubra shiricha, you have a pregnant woman that smelled food. So we are afraid that she's going to become ill from the fact that she smelled food and she can't eat. So we give her to eat, says the Mishnah, until she calms down. Choyle, what happens if you have a choyle? What is a choyle? It's a whole discussion in Hilchos Yom Kippurim, the Rambam, Chaim on it, very famous. So this word, just this word of choyle. Okay, does he have to be a choyle? Does he have to be someone that could become a choyle if he doesn't eat? That's a whole discussion. We're not going to go into that. The choyle ma'achilin loitzoi al pi bekiyin. What does that mean? You need someone that is a book. You need a doctor. You need someone to decide that he needs to eat. If the person says he needs, so we could allow him to eat also. And we're not going to learn that Gemara, but the Gemara explains why, because there is what the concept of Lev Yoideya Moras Nafshoy. A heart of a person knows what bothers him. So that also has some seriousness to it that we could consider it. Says the Gemara, this does not have to talk bedafka on Yom Kippurim. This could talk on every day, where you have a pregnant woman that smelled meat that is kodesh, so she's not allowed to eat it, or meat of a dover acha, of a chazir, so it's machol sasuris. So what do? She wants to eat something that is Easter. So the Gemara says that we do what's called a kalakal tchila. So first we take some type of spoon and we put it just in the sauce. Sauce is not the meat itself, so it's already less of an Easter. And we put it on her mouth. Because what happened here? She smelled it, and because she smelled it, became that something that she wanted very much. So in such a case, we try to do it in such a way. If that helped, great. If not, we give her the sauce itself. Now we just put this wet spoon on her tongue. Now, if it doesn't help, you give her to eat the sauce itself. Still, it's not the Easter itself because it's only sauce. And if that doesn't help, now we're not talking about pikuach nefesh on Shabbos or Bichlal, but obviously the reason that this helps is because we could afford to do all these type of things. Meaning you could afford not to lose this pregnant woman by trying first to put the spoon, then to put the sauce, and if not, to give her to eat. But if this would be a pikuach nefesh, that if you start doing all this kalakal tchila, it would be dangerous. So for sure you don't do that. Says the Gemara, continues the Gemara. Why are you allowed to give her this shuman? Nothing could stand still before pikuach nefesh. Because, right, there is only three things that what we call Yehorig Val Yavar, and that is Avodah Zarah, Gil Arayis, and Shlichus Dam. Says the Gemara, how do you know? Says the Gemara, listen to this. We say that twice a day. In Kriya Shema, Shachris V'Arvitz, we say B'chol Vavcho, B'chol Nafshecho, B'chol Moedecho. If we say B'chol Nafshecho, why do we say B'chol Moedecho? If I have to give up my life, of course I have to give up also my right possessions, my money. V'im Ne'emar B'chol Moedecho, Lomo Ne'emar B'chol Nafshecho. Why do you need both? Says the Gemara, if you have a person, and there is such a thing, that his body is more important to him than his money. So therefore, you have to say both. He's willing to give up his life just to keep his money. Okay, so that's the source of the first source that we learned, that what the pikuach nefesh is kol mitzvah Shabbat Torah. Gila Arai says the Gemara of Shvichus Damim Minolon. We'll go through it quick, even though it's less nogea, because the end of it is nogea. The Tanya. What does that mean? We learn from Eroitzeach to a Nairim Muros. This comes to, okay, goes both ways. So all these things have the same halacha, that you're not allowed to be over an aveira, and you have to get killed and not to do the aveira. This says the Gemara. How do you know that a Reitzeach, one is not allowed to kill somebody else? Right, one is not allowed to kill somebody else in order to save himself. Says the Gemara, Svarahu, that is what a svara. What is the svara? So look at this. Says the Gemara, what's the svara? The Ahuda also kamei, the Rav Amar li Mori Duroi. Mori Duroi told me, Katle lepania v'iloi katlina lo. So you should murder somebody else, and if not kill you, says the Gemara, Abaye told him what? Don't kill him. Let him kill you, and you should not kill. Why? What do you think? Your blood is more red than somebody else? No, his blood is more red. Now, the Rashi here says an explanation, but I want to read you the same Rashi later on in Psachim, not in Yuma, because Rashi in Psachim has a little bit more of addition to this. Look at this. Rashi in Psachim Daf Chavei says Rashi, "My chazis the domedidoch sume keloimar." Says Rashi, "Klum boso lishoel al kach." Why are you coming to ask me? Right? Should I kill him or not? You have already an assumption. Says Rashi, you know that nothing stands still before pikuach nefesh. Also here you would think that what? Rashi illustrates it unbelievable. Says Rashi, why do you come to Abaye now to ask the question? Because you know that there is a halacha that pikuach nefesh doiche kol haTorah kula. So now your life is in jeopardy, is bisakana. So you think that maybe what you are allowed to do is to kill somebody else to save yourself. That's what you think, right? Says Rashi, no, you should know. This is not the same for the rest of Averis. Why? Why? Because there is a nefesh here that is going to be lost. Either it's you that is asking the question, or it's the one that you're going to kill. So one nefesh for sure is going to be lost here. It says Rashi, when did the Torah say pikuach nefesh? Doiche the mitzvah, ela mipnei chibas nafshe shel Yisrael. The whole reason that the Torah allows it, why? Because the Torah has every Jew is precious in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And here, what happens? So, what does that mean? It means to say that you are allowed to do an avera to save somebody else or to save yourself. Why? Because the Torah doesn't want you to lose you. The Torah doesn't want to lose you. But vekan avera nasis. But here, an avera is going to be done. The nefesh avuda, and you also have an avera, and also one soul is lost. Mi yomar then says, who says shedaf chaviv lifnei hamokim? So mishazeh dir moshazeh chaviv v'tfei olav v'nimtzo avera nasis v'nefesh avuda. So he says, if you may, meaning Rashi explains this is like a mathematical, cheshbon here. That listen to this. Why? Because every nefesh of Yisrael is chaviv in front of HaKadosh Baruch. But if for that we have to also lose the nefesh and also do an avera, that's not worth it. That's not worth it. That's what HaKadosh Baruch didn't mean. That's an unbelievable mahalach, the way Rashi learned. And from all the Mekaymis and Shas, the Rashi explains this svara. This is the place where Rashi illustrates it the most. Okay, so that is a opening to understand for us bichlal the musag of svaru roitzeach gupe minolan svaru, and the svara is because of what? My chazis. Okay, so this is the Rashi in Sachim Chafei that explains my chazis. Now you have the Gemara in Yuma Daf Pei Hey, a few pages after, and this is a very interesting Gemara that brings us a few sources here. The Gemara says, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Lezer ben Azar, mehalchim baderech. Velevi Asado, Rabbi Shmuel ben Oish, Rabbi Lezer ben Azario, mehalchin acharev. There was a whole list of Amorim that were walking. Nishan Oshayla Zubifneim. The question that was asked to Belechtecho baderech, they were asked the question, Minayin nepikuach nefesh shedurches haShabbos. So this is a question before we said pikuach nefesh derech kol mitzvah Shabbat Torah. Here we're talking about Shabbos. Now, no Rabbi Shmuel ve'omar. I learned it from where? From Boba Machteres. Even Machteres about Zaganim. Umazeh shesofek amami bo sofek anefesh bo. Somebody that comes with Machteres. You have a robber that comes, sneaks in. You don't know if he's coming to steal. You don't know if he's coming to kill, if he's a terror or he's just coming for a moment. And the Torah says, what? Umazeh shesofek amami bo sofek anefesh bo v'shfichus domim metame es oretz v'goyim v'shchina tistalek miYisrael. The Gemara explained that shfichus domim is a terrible thing. Still nitan lehatzil benafsho. You're allowed to save and kill him. So of course here that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will prefer that what? That pikuach nefesh will be doiches Shabbos. That is the svar of Rabbi Shmuel. Nano Rabbi Akiva ve'omar. No, I learned it from someplace else. V'chi azid each areu mi'im mizbechi tikchenu lamud. Me'im mizbechi ve'lo me'al mizbechi. Taken from the mizbech and not on top of the mizbech. How do you know that in order to even that I could basically be mechayim, meaning I could go and be made in basin and find a way to be mechayim. Okay, we're talking about someone that is killed and he's nechaz bekarnei hamizbeach. ומה זה שסופק יש ממש דבoro ממש בדבoro ועבודה דרך השבס, קל וחומר לפיקוח נפש דרך השבס. Okay, we don't poskim the halacha, so I won't go to explain it. You could always learn it. No, Rab Lezer ואומר, ומה מילו, שיחוד 120 אחד מ-248 איברים שבאודום, right? This is one of the 248 Avarim of a person v'doiches HaShabbos, milo kal v'chomer chol gufo sh'doiches HaShabbos, meaning if a mitzvah that is performed only in one Aver, we say that is doiche. So, of course, when here the person is a sakana, that's a kal v'chomer. Rabbi Yossi, I learned it from here. Es shabsoisai tishmoiru. You should keep my Shabbos. Yochol lekol. Maybe in any situation. What is ach? Ach what is ach? Chilek. Ach comes and makes a division. And what is it? What's the division? The not in every case you are mechuyev to keep Shabbos. Rabbi Yossi Sprung, ki kodesh yilochem, hi mesura b'yotchem v'lo atem mesurim b'yotchem. Shabbos is given to you, and Shabbos doesn't control your life. You control Shabbos. Rab Shimon ben Menasseh Omer, listen to this. V'shomu b'nei Yisrael Shabbos. Omro Torah, chalel alav Shabbat achat, kedei sheyishmor Shabbatot arbeh. What's the essence? To keep Shabbos. If you'll die, you won't be able to keep Shabbos. Better be mechal one Shabbos, and in order to be able to keep a lot of Shabbos. Says the Gemara, listen to this. Says Rabbi the name of Shmuel, mine is better than all of these reasons together. What is it? Says the Gemara, boom. What is it? The Torah is given to you. You have to live. And not what? That you should die. Okay, we'll explain it. Bezos Hashem. And in the end, the Gemara says that what? That we paskin lahalacha just two of them. And the main thing is what? That is the svar. Lahalacha we paskin the chayboen and we paskin the shomu b'nei Yisrael Shabbos. Why both of them, Beis Hashem, we're going to see that when we learn Hilchos Shabbos. But that is the halacha. So the chayboen is not only a halacha regarding Hilchos Shabbos, right? That is a svara of pikuach nefesh doiches Shabbos. But not only the chayboen, meaning you should live and not die. What is exactly the pshat? I want to wait with it towards the end of this year. We'll understand it better. But in the meantime, we understand. That is a source to know the pikuach nefesh called kula and beikar Shabbos. The Gemara in Psachim Daf Chofei, remember we said that. Comes the Gemara and says like this. Bekol misrapin, you could use everything to make medicine. Chutz me'atze ashera. Remember, avodah zara is one of the things that yorig val yaver. So using for medication, that is avodah zara, you're not allowed to. Says the Gemara. What do you mean by saying that? If you want to say that it's sakana, so why aren't you allowed to use the atzashera? And if we're talking a case where it's not in danger, and if it's not a danger for the patient, so what? So not atzashera, not any other Easter. Says the Gemara, no. We're talking a case where there is sakana. אם נאמר בכל נפשך, לא נאמר בכל מוידך, ואם נאמר בכל מוידך, נאמר בכל נפשך. אלו לא יאמר, אם יש לך עוד גוף וחובי בעולו, ממומוינו לכך נאמר בכל נפשך. Right? That's a Gemara we learned before in Yuma. ויש אדם שם המוינו חויבנו בגופי, לכך נאמר בכל מוידך. כי עושה רבי נאמר רבי יוחנן, בכל מסרפין, חוץ for what? from avodah zara, gilu arayis, v'shvichus domim. And this is what avodah zarah the amaron. The reason you're not allowed to use this as a medication is because of what? Of that Atzasher is avodah zarah, and you can't use to say somebody else. So you see from here that also avodah zarah is noigeya halacha lemaisa. Today it's not noigeya so much halacha lemaisa because we don't have avodah zarah. But you see that is also a question. Okay, and then the Gemara here goes through the Gemara that we saw before. So we're not going to see that for now. Let's see here. It says the Gemara in Sanhedrin Daf Ayin Daled. The Gemara says the following. Nimnu v'gomru, Omar Bechel Shimon ben Yitzchak, Nimnu v'gomru ba'aliyas Beis Tatanza belud. There was this chabura in this alley in Lud that said the following. Kol avera shebat Torah im oimdim im oimrin odom aver ve'al teoreg yaver ve'al yehoreg. Every avera in the Torah, if somebody forces you to do, so you should do the avera, be killed. Chutz ve'avodas kechavim gedoras fichus dom ve'avodas kechavim loy kechavim, you shouldn't worship avodas kechavim and not be killed. Ve'atani Omar Rabbi Sprung minayin she'imamru l'odom avodah avodas kechavim ve'al teoreg minayin she'yaver ve'al yehoreg. Talmud don't we learn from it? Says the Gemara, so you see from here, right? That word that v'chai bohem means v'loi she yomus bohem. So what does that mean? That Rabbi Shmuel, and that is Shitas Rabbi Shmuel, he argues, and Rabbi Shmuel says that also b'avodah zarah the halacha is that what that yavor velo yehorek, and he learned it from v'chai bohem. We learned in the Gemara that v'chai bohem is a din for Shabbos and for other things, but Rabbi Shmuel holds that is also for avodah zarah, but we don't poskim like that. After we see all of this, so now we could learn and see Asher L'Shloima. The Asher L'Shloima is one of the Achronim, which Shlom Keberban used to be in Panovich, and was a very big Lamdin, and he says a very, very, very important Yesod. And he says the following. We saw the Gemara that Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Akiva, Nishala Shelazu B'fnei, Minayin Pikuach Nefesh Derechis Shabbos, Nano Rabbi Shmuel ve'omar im b'machteres, Nano Rabbi Akiva omar b'chiyozit. Right? Omar Rabbi Shmuel omar Shmuel, Omar Rabbi omar Shmuel. Yavo Yosam, I would say that what? The mine is better than all of them. Why? My source is better than all of them. The idea different to do. V'chai b'hem v'lo yishiyamus b'hem. V'raisi b'sefer Tosefos Yom HaKippurim Teiksho. The Sefer Tosefos Yom HaKippurim is one of the very important sperm on Maseches Yuma. He asked the following question: Vari besuge besanedrin iso de Rabbi Shmuel soiver deafilu beisur avodah zarah amrin yavo v'arioreg because of v'chayboim. Remember, we saw Rabbi Shmuel a few seconds ago. The learns from v'chayboim that even avodah zarah you're allowed to. V'lo mahutz rachocho. Okay, Rabbi Shmuel lemelach mimachteres. So why does Rabbi Shmuel, we have also Bobe Machteres, and also what? We have also Bobe Machteres and also the Chayba. Why do you need both of them? Listen to this, Rabbi say this is Halacha L'Maisa, because of the Yashiv. This Svirele, the Rabbi Yochanan, the Chayba, Ein Raya, Elol Odom, Atzmai, Shemutor Le'lav Risum, Shvirat Zalosai. I would say, the Chay Bohem, v'lo yishiyamus bohem. We're talking to each individual. The Torah is given to me to what? The chai, to live. And if by keeping the Torah I'm going to die, right? So that's not the chai. So mimele, I'm allowed to be over an aveira. But what's the pasha the case? The pasha the case is that an anos is coming, putting a gun to your head and forcing you to do an aveira. So here we say, no, don't do the Aveira and do do the Aveira and don't give up your life. That is what to yourself. What does that have to do with you, with the doctor? Why do I have to do an Aveira to save you? Who says that that's mutter? So he says like this, because the Svira Rabbi Yochanan ein raya l'odam atzmoi shemutar l'lav risorim b'shvil hatzalosoi. Aval sheyichalel Shabbos Yisrael ze be'ad chaveiroi. No shamanu, that we didn't hear. Ulikach ma'aser raya mibo machteres. Therefore, we bring a raya for bo machteres. V'alfinu nosa mikro. They call odom rashay lehatzim balabais v'nafshe shel ganav. What is bo machteres? Baba Machteres, the halacha of what of a roidef. Anyone could kill the ganav, not only the balabayas. So you see from here that it's not only halacha that you v'shmuel tzvirelei. What does Shmuel learn? Midiyuka dekra mashma degam berabi mutar nechal b'shvil hayochid yuyancho. Okay. So this is the halacha. Being about the sakedaitach. Then he says, the chalik derach letzorich atzmei mutar nechal Shabbos. This hava amina that I would think that only for himself you're allowed and not other, and for others, lo yeshivas oter shimso nafshe kedei shelo yavar aliso ve'avi shiure b'mitzvah. He wants to say maybe that is a shear in a mitzvah. What does that mean? The mitzvah bohem rak ad mesirus nefesh, meaning, what extension do I have to go in order to perform the mitzvah until giving up my nefesh? But when your friend is sick and you're coming to save, maybe there you can't say there is a shear till when? Shear for what? The gab is the chiyazit gam etzoy chatzalas chaveiro imutar v'chayav inaver al isur toiro. Therefore, he says we will end b'siman samechei. What we say. Okay, so this is an interesting way to look on these things. The minchas chinuch here in mitzvah reish tzadik vov, we're not going to see it now, has a interesting mahalach. Also says this svara of the Asher l'shloima. Listen to this. Now, I want a little bit to talk about this concept of the chayba and veloishiyomus and pikuach nefesh. I want to talk about it more and understanding it, because this is something that you're going to live with. You're going to live with it all the time. So it's important to understand where is it coming from, what is it? Okay, if I have to work on Shabbos now, if I have to do an Aveira in the middle of the week now, is that something that, what is it exactly? Okay, what is the right hanhag? So just to explain, I brought you here, once I found it in the Nefesh HaChaim. It's not directly on the Nefesh HaChaim. Rav Leuchter has Rav Reuven Leuchter has a pirush on the Nefesh HaChaim, and he writes here on Archovas Abir, he calls it, and he talks about the concept. What is the difference between kedusha and tuma? Listen, ההבדל בין קדושה לטומאה הוא שלקדושה יש חיות. Kedusha has some type of chayus, of life. Veletuma en chayut. Tuma doesn't have anything. Kedusha chaya me'atzma. What gives Kedusha his energy from itself? Ve'inat tzricha linok chayut mikoach hitzoni. The energy of Kedusha is from itself. It doesn't have to nourish it from any other source. Ach netuma en chayut me'atzma. Tuma cannot live on its own. In order for Tuma to survive, it needs to sit on something else. It has to sit on something in order to survive. Listen to this. He says this is the source of the whole Torah. Chayes. אחר שביירס גודל החיוב, לחל שבס ושום פיקוח נפש, Says the Rambam in Hilchis Shabbos. Look at the Rambam, Perik Beis. The Rambam says, Holamadeto, shein mishpeto atoiro nekama ba'olam. Mishpete Torah, the rules of the Torah are not evil. They're not revenge. Elo, rachamim, v'chesed, v'sholom ba'olam. All of Mishpete Torah in their essence are rachamim, chesed, v'sholom in the world. Hagdusha, this is the end of the Rambam. Now he says, Hagdusha nishpas lo'olam, keshehu munhag al pi Mishpete Torah. The Kedusha that comes to the world when you live according to Mishpetei Torah, that they all are Rachamim, Goremet lo Kiyum, that causes the world, what? To a Kiyum, that is the world, it's not, I don't want to use the word survival because it's more than that. That is the whole establishment of the world, but that what builds the world. But Surah Na'ara B'yoter on the highest level. I love these words. I think this pshat, when using these words of the Rambam, this is unbelievable. That shows you that when we talk about pikuach nefesh, and you're doing the pikuach nefesh because that's what the right thing to do. So what are you doing? You are mekayim the oilam. You're mekayim the oilam. You're mekayim the Torah. That creates kedusha in the world. This is important. We'll go and see a source of Rabbi Soloveitchik in Isha Halacha. Rabbi Soloveitchik, look at the way he explains the concept of pikuach nefesh. Unbelievable. Yesod also to explain, because I think it's important to understand what we're saying today. Okay, the concept of pikuach nefesh in the deepest level. Says the Isha Halacha here. Pikuach nefesh doiches kol haterakula. V'chai bohem v'lo yishayamus bohem. He brings all the different sources that we learn, and he's bringing it, and he's trying to make some type of a seder in our mind. Halacha zo hi sismat hayadut. Okay, this is something by us. We all know this halacha. What is it? Anishal, he brings another concept in Hilchos Shabbos. Anishal areze megune, ve'ashoel areze shofech domim. Rambam bal midat tzimtzum haloshoim. The Rambam always doesn't use too many words. Arbe dvarim b'inyan zeh. Ve'asur litmameh, says the Rambam. Ve'asur litmameh b'chilul Shabbos l'chol sheyesh bo yisakono. And the Rambam says, and that is the Rambam that we quoted a few seconds ago, the Rambam says, this is the words of the Rambam. And they say it's usher to Bichal Shabbos. גם אני נתתי לכם חוקים לא טובים ומשפטים לא יחיו בהם. אין דברי תורה מתנגדים לחיים והמציאות. So now he wants to explain it. Listen to this, what Rav Soloveitchik says. אין דברי התורה מתנגדים לחוקי החיים והמציאות. Meaning there's no conflict between the laws of the Torah, okay, and the law that one has to live. What does it mean, b'chai bohem? Remember I told you that in the last part of the share I'm going to explain it. What is b'chai bohem? Bohem is a commandment that the Torah tells you, b'chai bohem. You should live with the commandments of the Torah. It's not that it's a contradiction. Kilu hayu mitnakshim im ha'olam hazeh. If they would be something that conflict, and there would be a conflict with my existence of a person, a psychology, biology, meaning the physical being, if the reason of keeping the Torah basically would be something that what? The reason of keeping the Torah would be cause somebody to be in a problem, okay, meaning that would cause and would put a person in danger. So therefore, he wants to say, so that is what the opposite for what the Rambam says, meaning the Torah is as if Chas v'Shalom to say is giving right cruel rules. Safek b'koach nefesh. Now he comes to say Safek b'koach nefesh lehokel. We know that halacha also. The more sfekas you have, you could be matir. Now he comes to explain the Brisk Shita. Reb Chaim Ish Brisk no pasak me'olam et halacha shemachlim choyle sheyesh bo sakana poches mikashir be'yom HaKippur. We learned today a Mishnah, and that says on that Mishnah that we do a kalakal tchila, and we start to give her the spoon. If doesn't help, we give her the sauce. If that doesn't help, you give her the shuman by itself. That is a kalakal tchila. Here he says, Reb Chaim never paskin lahalacha on Yom Kippur, right? He said that when you have a choyle sheyesh b'sakana, poches mikashir b'yom HaKippur. Meaning, there is a halacha of shiur. Reb Chaim didn't paskin that halacha. Today, everybody paskin that, but that was. And he used to say to the people that take care of the choyle to give him a regular meal. Okay, he's talking now about Rabbi Yossi Sprung. Amad litzah lerasin, right? Plach kovna l'sharet shama b'kodesh. He went to the city of Rasin to become a rav. Nichnas. Ibdo Reb Chaim lemokim shenichnas v'omar loy. Reb Chaim told him before he went, "Hineni metzavcha yom neorot al pi achrati benogea lechoyle sheyesh b'sakana b'yom HaKippurim ki kach hu ikar hadin." So Reb Chaim told him, "This is ikar hadin." Okay. Now, Rav Soloveitchik brings this for a total different idea, but anyhow. That, okay, he wants to also, he goes into Kedushas and Netzach HaChaim. I don't want to go into this whole thing. But that is the concept that Rav Soloveitchik says here. I want to share with you, okay, let's go to an Even Ozel, and you'll see what he says, and then we'll wrap it up together to understand this idea. Here he brings the Rambam, right? In Perek Beis Milchas Shabbos, Halacha Gimel. This is the Rambam that I quoted for you before. He explains that, okay, Rabbi Salman explains the following. We saw that, right? The Gemara in Brachos, that Samech, Bobekame, Deloi Neimo, Rachmane, Mochi, Viyu Maseh. Don't say that what the Torah, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made him sick, and you're healing him. Because if so, baby, the illness came because of a punishment. Listen to this. One would say that you're not allowed to be Michal Shabbos to heal. Shabbat siyua ve'ezer, and if so, the Shabbos would be a help for what? For to punish him. She'anash Hashem la'adam b'avur chatav. Ze omar olamadeto she'i efshar she'yu mishpetei haTorah ezer v'siyua la'onchim. There isn't such a thing that the mitzvahs of the Torah is the punishment of the person. Rabbi Yossi, I think this is an eye-opening on the whole concept of pikuach nefesh doiche kol haTorah kula. What the Rambam says, mishpetei haTorah Okay, Mishpatei Torah are Rachamim, Chesed, v'Sholem, Menachas v'Sholem Nekoma. What is the Rambam saying here? Rabbi say, think this, and it should become part of your whole mahalach in life of understanding. What does it mean? Pikuach nefesh doiche kol haTorah kula. It's not the pshat is that you live a b'di'evet. This is Chaim of Kedusha, like we brought from the Nefesh of Chaim. This is a Chaim that gives, the nourishment of itself. That causes Kedusha. The Evan Azal comes, and he says it cannot be Chas v'Shalom that the punishment that me keeping mitzvahs punishes me. It can't be such a thing. Think about it. It's an interesting philosophy on life to understand it. But he comes to say the Torah, the Torah doesn't have punishment? We don't have such a thing. Yes, there is punishment, but it's a different department. And if one is sick, is that a punishment or not? So we already spoke about it. That's not the pshat. Of course, now a person could heal and has the rishus to heal and has the choiva to heal because he's mekayim a mitzvah of atzalas nefashis. He's mekayim ashiv teshivim. He's mekayim all these mitzvahs. But not only that he's mekayim, if he has to do it on Shabbos and he does it the way he has to do it on Shabbos, so he adds kedusha to the world, and it's not contradicting anything. That is what you have to do. Why? Because v'chai bohem, and that is the strongest source of pikuach nefesh. V'chai bohem means you have to live, and not only you each individual. And now we saw that Shlomo that says that if one could help somebody else to live, that's also the same thing. But in the end of the day, the source is v'chai bohem. The Torah is given for me to what? To live. And if the Torah is given for me to live, so I have to do everything in order to live. And even if I have to do, in order to live, I have to give up and to do what's called Averis, they're not Averis. They're an Averis just because we have to know in the department where they belong. But for now, they're your mitzvahs. They're maisim that are shalom, they're all of these things. And that is the pshat that I think that we came out today with understanding what is pikuach nefesh Torah kula and understanding this concept. I think it's very, very important. Open it for questions.